Welcome to Light O'Clock, the podcast that breaks down the science of light and circadian rhythms so you can be enlightened. That's right, brand new season, same old jokes. But anyways, last season we laid some foundations on how circadian rhythms work and how light can impact them. This season we delve more into the relationship between circadian rhythms and health. We'll get some insights into how circadian rhythms were discovered in the first place.
Yes, and so those initial experiments were really quite adventurous. So the initial experiments involved descending into caves, far underneath the Earth's surface and asking questions about how sleep cycles function there and taking careful, measurements, usually the scientist measuring himself.
Also, we learn about a very special fruit fly.
Well, chances are you've got this very fly in your fruit bowl at home at this very moment if you've got fruit sitting out.
And what it can tell us about the workings of our body clock. We're also asking, how do circadian rhythms and sleep work together?
So this is called the two-process model of sleep. And basically what it entails is that the combination of your circadian clock and how long you've been awake is going to dictate your likelihood that you're able to fall asleep.
And why are we so bad at telling whether we're sleep deprived or not?
So I think a lot of people, one of the reasons why we're so bad at estimating how sleep deprived we are is because all of us use caffeine, or most of us, I should say. And of course, caffeine is a psychoactive stimulant. It makes us feel alert and it takes away this feeling of sleepiness, right?
And yes, we are finally asking, is chronotype a thing? Like, scientifically? Do early birds have it easier than night owls?
Actually, both, because if you're a very early type, you always suffer on weekends when people want you to stay up to go partying or do other social events. Whereas when you're more of a really late type, then you struggle mostly during the week.
And how does chronotype change across our lives?
Adolescents really delay and tend to become more night owlish, more later types. Again, the distribution is there, but still on average, they are much later. And then around 20, 21, 22, this changes a bit and we become earlier.
Also, we talk about how circadian synchrony works.
Yeah, so maybe one good analogy that's often used in the field is that of a conductor and an orchestra. So the central clock is often sort of seen as the conductor of an orchestra that tells different musicians and different parts of the orchestra what they have to do. Yeah, so sort of the central clock sets the pace and instructs different organs.
And what are the health consequences of breaking this synchrony with circadian disruption? For example, for night shift workers.
Even if you sort of take into account other factors, such as that, for example, night shift workers might be less active or maybe eat less healthy, then still, if you take into account all those factors, then still night shift work is associated with a higher risk of those health consequences. So, for example, a higher risk of cardiovascular problems or a higher risk of having a higher BMI.
Talking about health, we had to ask, what about mental health?
It's normal to feel irritated or anxious or slightly dysphoric or low in mood when you have sleep deprivation.
We hear in detail about circadian rhythms and light sensitivity in bipolar disorder.
So we're really interested in this idea that people with bipolar disorder might be more sensitive to the adverse effects of evening light and may become more destabilized in terms of their rhythms of mood and activity and sleep.
This and more in our brand new season. We'll be back in your feeds starting September 3rd. Find us as Light O'Clock, that is Light O'Clock, on all major podcast platforms or on our website. Hope to see you there, and in the meantime, don't forget to lighten up your clock.